What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you back, and in this video we're going to talk about something that's like a follow-up to my previous video on the 5 tips for first-time track day riders. This is going to be more about the motorbike and less about the rider, so let's get to it. Alright guys, before you actually pull the trigger and book that first track day, the very first thing that you should do absolutely is make sure that there's no leaks on the engine. If there's any leaks on the engine, unless your track day is in 2 months time, you might not get enough time to actually fix the leaks. So the very next thing that you should probably do is make sure that your oil level is up, up to scratch. So check your motorcycle manual. And the next thing is pretty much simple. Let's start from the front and from the wheel and move our way up. So the very first thing that I would do is basically give the wheel a spin and just inspect it and make sure there's no dents, right? I would also make sure that my front wheel, the tire valve, is actually not leaking. So you can do it the clean way and get a bit of a soap and water, mix it up, and then put it on the wheel, on the valve, and see if there's any bubbles forming, and also around the valve as well. The next step for me would be to check the actual brake pads, right, and make sure that there's enough there to last me the whole day at least. So yeah, I would check the brake pads, then I would make sure that all my nuts that are on the caliper are the right tighten. I'll make sure also that my brake line is not leaking here as well, so there's no leaks or anything like that. Then I'll move up here. What I would normally do is check now if there's any leaks on the forks. I would give it a couple of sort of like strong pulls down to get the fork to move a bit, and then check if there's any leaks. If there is leaks, there will be leaks here, and normally you'll notice leaks fairly often. If you check, I check my bike quite a lot, and there will be just like a leak, and this would be like a dark, almost black color from the fluid anyway. So yeah, that's a big thing to do. Make sure that that's not leaking. A couple of forks to get fixed will probably set you back around between 300 to 380 at a really reputable shop. And I would only take it to a reputable shop, and I would never only take one side. I would take both forks at the same time, because you don't want to have different, like old fluid and old seals and stuff on one side and brand new stuff on the new stuff. It will work differently compared to if the fluid is the same. And make sure there's no major scratches on this tube here as well. That sometimes can cause future oil leaks. And then I would probably just check the radiator, make sure there's no oil leaks there as well. Sorry, radiator fluid leaks, coolant fluid leaks there. In general, then I would move up to the tire and check the tire wear. You have tire wear indicators on the side of the tires, in the grips, and also on the center, and just make sure that you have about like a fingernail worth of or size of sort of wear still to go, or about maybe 5 mil or something like that. Then that you should pass this, the scrutineering in terms of the tires as well. Just do the same for both front and rear tires. Pretty much do the same thing that you check on this side, on the other side as well, and also on the back tire. Alright, so once we move up here, then first thing we check is that the throttle is closing by itself, right? There's nothing impairing the throttle from fully closing, right? Then you want to check the brake master cylinder and make sure that there's absolutely nothing that's leaking here as well. You also want to make sure there's no brake fluid leaks in the brake fluid reservoir. Make sure that your brake fluid is basically on the limit. The next thing is, I always leave a key before a track day in the bike. Don't want to rock up to a track day with a key that I've forgotten. So the next thing is, you probably noticed that I don't have mirrors on this bike. This used to be a road bike. It's no longer a road bike, it's really a dedicated track bike. So my mirrors are permanently off. Taking them off, I'm going to put some aftermarket mirror block-offs here soon. Until then, this is going to do just fine. I'm also planning to maybe put some GoPro mounts here somehow. So, but that's for another video. Then basically I've got a steering damper here. It's a Matrice steering damper, and I'll make sure that that's also not leaking, that there's no scratches on the actual rod. I'll also make sure my fuel cap is got the fuel cap on, it's not missing. I'll definitely check to make sure that my clutch is also on the other side working freely and engaging, which it is. And then we move on to the next part. So this is another one of those things that you have to check and make sure that with the exhaust everything is connected correctly and there's no disconnected or missing bolts and screws. Also make sure that your exhaust is properly fitted and not loose as well. That could also get you a no pass at the scrutineers. Like I said, with the actual front wheel, not just the tire, I will do the same thing, same inspection on the rear wheel. Alright, so this is obviously another important part of the bike, and probably one of the most important ones, which is to make sure that your sprocket is not worn out and your chain is not worn out. So and also that obviously your chain has enough lube on it and that it's got the right travel amount. So I don't know, like you probably should check your owner's manual or your bike manual to check what the recommended chain travel is. Normally would definitely recommend a chain clean and to make sure that there's nothing loose on the chain, there's no debris, and give it a nice little squirt of chain lube just to make sure that it's very well operational. Also make sure your rear shock doesn't have any leaks and there's no loose parts on the bike. Everything is in place and tightened properly. Make sure that these things like the screws, obviously these are probably the most important things. Make sure that these things are actually up to the torque specs, like in terms of how tight they are. Alright guys, we're almost done here, but one thing that is actually quite important that I might have forgotten to mention before is that one thing that I definitely do is I check all the necessary sort of bolts, especially anything to do with control, to make sure that they're up to the right torque tension. So normally I have markers, you can't see them now, but they're kind of in like a white marker that I can tell that they're aligned properly most of the time, that they haven't gone loose. And that's kind of my final check that I do. Like then I know that at least that's something that I've done, I just want to say a big thank you for sticking around, watching it this long, and I welcome any comments and recommendations. Please leave them in the comment section. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, and if you want to keep up to date with all the videos that we're going to be publishing, then make sure that you hit the subscribe and the notifications button, and I'll see you in the next video.